Welcome. Good morning. My name is Meg Herman. My pronouns are she, her, and I serve on your board of trustees. It is my pleasure to welcome you here this morning. If you're here for the first time, thank you for joining us. We look forward to getting to know you. We invite everyone present in the sanctuary today to join us in person in our in-person community right after the services. Each week, we remind ourselves of our congregation's core values: connection, transformation, justice, and acceptance. Our mission is to embody these core values in our daily lives by welcoming all, inspiring compassion, nurturing wonder, and serving community. Serving community means that we act in partnership with our other local organizations and communities for justice. It means that we try to put our faith in action through service. Our Restorative Justice Faith in Action team has been working hard to promote economic equity in the Austin neighborhood. And this week, the Austin Credit Union opened. Anyone that is interested in the credit union who lives in Cook, DuPage, or Will counties is eligible to join and help invest in our community right next door. More information is at a table in Unity Temple House after the service. We are so glad that you are with us today. We hope you find our service inspiring and meaningful. And I invite you now to take a moment to greet one another, both online and in the sanctuary.
Well, greetings. Greetings. Good to have you both up here. Thank you. Well done. Well done. Very cool about Austin Credit Union.
That's been a long decade.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Reverend Roger, and my pronouns are he, him, and I am delighted this morning that our chalice lighter is Shepherd, who is 10 years old and whose favorite sport is baseball. So I invite you to join in the chalice lighting words as Shepherd lights the chalice. We are Unitarian Universalists. This is the church of the open minds, the loving hearts, the helping hands. We take care of the planet Earth and each other.
Good morning. My name is Madonna Thielen, and my pronouns are she, her. This interdependence idea seems to go against the grain for most of us Americans. Most of us carry a strong, independent defiance deep in our bones. And this interdependence, I need you and you need me, seems to go just contrary to the way most of us live. And we definitely do not want to become a burden to our loved ones. When my mom fell and shattered her femur bone, she became more and more physically dependent. She'd been managing well for over 15 years since my dad died, independently. And suddenly she needed help with daily tasks like grooming and dressing and cooking. And though I was working full-time and lived nearly 200 miles away from her, my weekends soon became caretaking weekends. My mom resisted, not wanting to be a burden. And at times I resisted too, not wanting another burden in my rather full life. Connie Zwig, who wrote The Inner Work of Age, says that caregivers often experience resentments. And I did. At times, I felt underappreciated. At other times, some unhealed childhood issues came up for me, like whatever I did was not enough. Zweig also writes that care receivers often experience a loss of identity or meaning or shame in their newfound dependency. My mom definitely struggled through this liminal space between independence and dependence. Often mom would complain about being told what to do or feel resentful. This push-pull struggle went on for nearly a year, and it really only mellowed when she'd had enough time to grow in acceptance of her physical limitations, and I was able to move away from the role of caregiver to truly understanding that we were simply two souls joined on this healing journey. I accompanied my mom through her death, and this was a blessing. This, to me, is the grace of interdependence, understanding that we are companions on this journey called life. Each of us called to heal and to love and to be healed and be loved. Whoever you are, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning. Please rise in body or in spirit and join me in hymn number 1012 in the teal hymnal, Lean on Me. A couple little things I want to tell you. Just call on me, people. Say that for me. Just call on me, people. That's right, we're going to be people instead of brothers, okay, today? And just follow these words because we're doing the verses in the end, okay? Some time in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow.
standing and join with me in the words of our covenant. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest of truth is the sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, and that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God.
Good morning. My name is Jay Peterson. My pronouns are he and him, and I serve on your spiritual care team. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. Sharing the joys and sorrows of our lives with each other is one of the ways we embody love in our congregation. Those attending in person may share your joys and sorrows in the binder outside the doors of the sanctuary. You can also email your joys and sorrows to us at spiritualcare@unitytemple.org. If you would like to talk with somebody about what is in your heart, please feel welcome to contact the spiritual care team. We are here to listen and sit with you in times of both joy and sorrow. Here are the joys and sorrows that were shared this week. Please hold Lisa Aiken's friend Eleanor in your heart. She has surgery for cancer this Monday. Please hold Gail Pearson's nephew in your heart as he continues through addiction treatment in his early 20s. We know that we all hold some joys and sorrows in silence. We invite anybody who has a joy or sorrow to come forward to drop a stone into a bowl of water at one of the 4 stations we have around the sanctuary. We invite you to engage in the spiritual practice of silence during this shared ritual. After the prayer, we'll sing Spirit of Life once as a benediction. Let's begin now.
I'm going to start today's prayer with a reading. Actually, the reading is longer and the prayer is one sentence. The reading is called Lo Dayenu, and it's written for this Passover season, this particular one, which we are in the midst of. And it's by Kohenet Kishira Halev Fife. Dayenu is part of the Passover Seder liturgy, and it means it is enough. Lo Dayenu means it is not enough. If we enjoy a Seder meal and don't at least acknowledge the many people in Gaza and beyond who are starving, Lo Dayenu, it is not enough. If we say, let all who are hungry come and eat, and we exclude those whose perspectives don't match ours, Lo Dayenu. If we acknowledge the crisis in Gaza and don't call for its end, Lo Dayenu. If we say ceasefire now and don't uplift the need for hostage release, Lo Dayenu. If we read about the news and don't stop to feel its impact, Lo Dayenu. If we are active on social media and don't take action offline, Lo Dayenu. If we commit to fighting anti-Semitism and don't commit to fighting Islamophobia, Lo Dayenu. If we notice our fear and don't interrogate its origin, Lo Dayenu. If we tell the story of our liberation and don't remember that it was and still is collective, Lo Dayenu. When we believe in freedom for us and for everyone, and we commit to working towards it, only then will we be able to say, Dayenu. Great Spirit of life and love, may we each find ways in our own lives, simple but important ways, to work towards freedom and justice. Amen. If you are someone who likes to be close by for a story, come on down. Or up. Hi. All right. Yay, this is always the miracle of where'd they all come from? This is great. Hi. What's that?
My grandma has recently passed away.
Oh, I'm so sorry. We're thinking about you. Her grandma recently passed away, so we're holding you in our heart. I'm going to actually tell a story in the sermon about my grandpa when he passed away. Also, I'm going to tell a story. This story is when I was 10. I don't know, how old are you?
I'm almost 9.
Almost 9. I was Shepherd's age who lit the chalice. Also, baseball was my favorite sport and my grandpa's favorite sport. The story today is called Love You Forever by Robert Munsch. You can see the book cover there. I'm going to tell this. Yeah, a lot of people love that book, me included. So I'm going to tell the story. I knew a guy named Jim who heard Robert Munsch tell the story, And so I'm telling it the way that Jim heard Robert tell the story. Yes? Is that your sister's favorite story? I bet it's a lot of grown-ups' favorite story, too. This, in fact, I heard this morning that it's the bestseller among kids' books many years after it came out. So this story I'm going to tell might not be exactly like the book, but a story is a living thing, and that's why I want to tell it today. So here's how the story begins. One last question, and then we're going to begin. Okay. Let's not, though, do that, because then it's a little distracting, and we'll just have to see the book cover. Okay, so the story begins with a mother holding her brand new baby in her lap. And she looks down in that baby and rocks that baby back and forth, and she sings, "I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always, as long as I'm living, my baby you'll be." Well, that baby grew and grew until that baby, he was 2 years old. And he was kind of a terrible 2-year-old. He did things like, yeah, terrible too, right? He did things like pull all the groceries off the shelves, open the refrigerator and dump stuff, and he took his mom's wash and put it in the toilet. Sometimes his mom was just thinking, I'm going crazy with this kid. But then when this baby, 2-year-old, was asleep in bed, sound asleep, the mom would sneak in, pick up that 2-year-old, and rock him back and forth, and she'd sing, and you can all sing along if you want to. I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always, as long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. Well, that kid grew until he was 9 years old. And he did things like you, right? And he did things like he wouldn't take a bath, he came home late for dinner, and he said bad words when grandma visited. Sometimes the mom felt like this kid should be sent to the zoo, but late at night she'd sneak in, look in the room, peek in, sneak in, pick up this now pretty big 9-year-old boy and rock him back and forth, singing, I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always, as long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. Well, then this boy grew and he grew until he was a teenager, and he listened to crazy music, and he had crazy friends, and he wore crazy clothing, and the mom thought she was living in a zoo. But late at night, when she knew he was asleep, she would peek in. Probably, if like my daughter, he had do not cross police lines on the door, but she'd peek in and crawl across the floor and pick up that big teenager and sing, I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always, as long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. Well, that teen grew up into an adult, and he moved out from the house, and he got his own place on the other side of town, and sometimes at night his mom would strap a ladder on top of her car and drive over to his house, and she'd put the ladder up to his bedroom window, and she'd look in, and then if it seemed like he was asleep, she'd prop open that window and climb in and pick up that now big adult and rock him back and forth. I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always, as long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. Well, then that boy one day got a call from his mom, and she said, I'm pretty sick. I think you should come over. So he came over, and when he went into the room where she was, she started to sing that song, I'll love you, but she just couldn't do it. So you know what he did? He picked up his mom, and he rocked her back and forth. This is where I get to cry too. And he sang, I'll love you forever. I'll like you for always. As long as I'm living, my mommy you'll be. My mommy, yeah. Then the captions aren't always real good, but they still help in general. So then, that's a much needed note of lightness, though. Thank you. Then, he went home, and when he got outside a room in his house, he stopped and he paused. And then he went in that bedroom where his new baby girl was in a bassinet. And he picked her up and he sang, I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always, as long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. Thank you. That's the story. You can go to Unity House and elsewhere. Each week, Unity Temple splits the offering evenly. Half goes to support the programs and mission of our congregation. The other half goes to Faith in Place, an organization of people of faith and justice protecting our earth. Faith in Place coaches green teams of all faiths to create lasting change, particularly by fighting for the people that are most impacted by injustice. And if a plate hasn't started in your section, I invite you to get it started. Our offering will be received. As I shared with one of our children, when I was 10 years old, my grandfather died. He was diagnosed with terminal liver cancer the year before that. My family was close to Grandpa. We called him Grandpa Barnes, which was his last name and my middle name. We were close, except geographically. He lived in South Carolina, and we lived in Michigan. As his illness progressed and the demands for caring for him became too great for his wife, which is his second wife, she understandably moved him into a skilled nursing place. Less understandably, after a while, she stopped visiting. A wonderful, compassionate nurse let my mom know that essentially he was abandoned in this home. No one came by, dying. Seemingly without a moment's hesitation, my mom flew down to South Carolina. We're fortunate that our family had the money to transport him back to Michigan by air ambulance. She and my dad got a hospital bed and a walker and a commode and other things and set up Grandpa in the bedroom next to their room, which at the time was one of my brother's rooms, in which all of us were as babies. Mostly, my mom gave him the gift of love and care. It helped she was a nurse. My grandpa spent the last 6 weeks of his life with us. He never heard from his wife. Yet his customary grace and good humor remained very much in evidence. He threw himself into the life of the family, using his walker to get down to the area we ate for just about every meal up until the last couple days. He liked to poke gentle fun at us. For example, when my family is finished with ice cream, it gets really loud as we scrape, all of us, like way past the point of politeness. And it's the only time the incessant chatter stops at meals, and he just had a ball with that one. So being 10 years old, I was oblivious to the work that all this involved for my mom to keep him comfortable, helping every time he had a bowel movement, emptying his catheter, bathing him, keeping on top of his meds, laundering the sheets, changing the bed, etc. And of course, more than that, she had the burden of emotions as she watched her dad die. No doubt about it, Grandpa was a tremendous burden, and one my mother would not have traded, and one that she had sufficient bandwidth to handle because she was not working outside the home and she had that nursing background. Well, one Sunday, my siblings and I were watching 60 Minutes when my dad came in and said that Grandpa had died. "Do you want to come and see him?" he asked. Quietly, we filed into that bedroom. Grandpa's look of peace was a final gift for me. I realized at 10 that death isn't necessarily horrible, and boy, is it part of life. And I realized that we had given him a powerful gift too, the gift of dying surrounded by loved ones. In the late 1990s, I received a gift from my grandmother on the other side, my dad's mother, who we called Nani. So this gift was kind of surprising because she had been dead for 15 years. So when she died, all of us 14 grandkids got to pick one of her belongings, and I picked her desk, this beautiful desk that must be 125 years old now. You know, the desk that has the kind of little cubbies and a couple drawers on each side. And one day in the late 1990s, 15 years after she died, I could not find a sheet of stamps that I knew I bought. We always stored them in one of those desk drawers. And my wife said, "You know, it could have gotten wedged in the back." So I pull out the drawer, and sure enough, there's the stamp. And then I realized there is a flaw in this desk. At the back of this drawer, there is a vertical compartment that goes down about 4 or 5 inches, and that it's very possible that stuff in that drawer fell down into the desk. So I try to put my hand in there. Too big. My wife tries. Too big. Our little kids, perfect. And they start fishing out stuff. Dry cleaning bills, tax records, receipts from the 1940s and 50s that my grandmother had lost back there. Then one thing where they pulled out my grandfather's yellowed obituary from the newspaper in 1961. And then they pulled out this couple pictures. And then we look at the other side. And there's like 50 pictures that had fallen behind that one. Pictures of my aunts and uncles and cousins and parents and siblings and me and a bunch of people my dad couldn't remember. There's a photo of my grandparents' Easter 1946. It's labeled in the back with a scriptural passage in these words, "Glorious Easter Sunday after helpful sermon." I kind of like that one. There's a picture of my grandparents at their 40th wedding anniversary. There's a couple pictures of my grandfather within months of his death, looking like, yes, death was coming. There's a picture of me as a 1-year-old looking more like my son when he was that age than I imagined. And then the most intriguing picture of all, just this little picture that shows a young man and a young woman on a beach, very much in love. It's clearly my grandmother, just as clearly not my grandfather. What? There is a story that picture has to tell, and in fact, you could tell that it had been taken out of a scrapbook or a photo album because you could still see the glue marks. A story I'm afraid we'll never know. So, pretty amazingly, I had hauled those treasures around without knowing it for 15 years. And finding those long buried treasures reminded me of all the gifts my grandmother gave me. We were so lucky. She lived just a mile from our house growing up, and every Halloween we'd go over there and show off our costumes and get some candy to get the day started. Christmas season, she'd come to our house with a big suitcase full of gifts for us, mostly clothes, but still okay. And then every time they had a pancake supper at her Methodist church, we'd go, and anytime I smell sausage and syrup, it's like, oh, I remember. And she would come to every concert I had, every recital, every church event, every honors assembly. I knew that she unconditionally loved and supported me. So these treasures in Nani's desk that I found 15 years after she died were a tangible reminder that these gifts are still with me. She is a part of me, a deep and important part. So is my Grandpa Barnes. So are my parents, now dead. They're all living in me. So the interdependent web that we've been focused on this month, it's a great metaphor for our connectedness in nature. It's also a great metaphor for our human connectedness. At the heart of this interdependent web in our human community is the simple act of caring. So I think about it. Grandpa Barnes caring for my mom when she was little, Mom caring for him when he was dying, Nani caring for my dad when he was little and me when I was little, and then Dad caring for Nani in her old age, and also me and my siblings caring for my parents in their dying days after they cared for us as little ones. Talk about interdependence. The relationships of love and birth in families of whatever type, chosen, born into, adopted into, there is a dizzying dance as we float in and out of the role of caregiver and care receiver. And I don't want to romanticize this today. It is hard. I'm so grateful for Madonna's opening words, which captured that. It is hard. It is hard to help. It is hard to be helped. And often complicated emotions and memories surface as we do this dance with our loved ones. But helping another family member who's struggling is part of what it means to be in a family, again, whether we're born into it or adopted into it or it's a chosen family. So there's a line that I saw in an article long ago from Gilbert Melander that inspired the title of this sermon. Is this not in large measure what it means to belong to a family, to burden each other, and to find almost miraculously that others are willing, sometimes even happy, to carry such burdens? So in families of all type, we do burden one another. A baby is such, or a young child, such a burden to parents. A dying parent is a burden to their children. Some of us are burdened both directions at the same time. All that's true. I need here, though, to make a few qualifications. First, True and deep caring is not present in all families, and what a tragedy. Second, there are times when the very best act of caring we can do is not to act. Sometimes we help a loved one most by not rescuing them. And finally, there are times when we can't take on another burden from a family member if we're going to be there for the long haul. Sometimes we have to say no, and it is the right thing. But there are so many other times when we need the help of a loved one, or we're able to offer help and support. This American idol of self-reliance works against asking for and giving care within our families. It's this self-reliance idol that can deny the reality of the interdependent web of life. This is an idol, especially in white American culture. And what I want to say today is, instead of worshiping that false idol, I want to burden my loved ones. Not all the time, hopefully, but when I need help, when I'm sick, when I'm struggling, when my dying days come. And I want them to burden me when they're sick or struggling or their dying days come. This is what it means to be in a family. And of course, it is not just in families that we can be caregiver and care receiver. This can also happen in congregations. In a congregation, we can, for example, listen compassionately when someone is struggling. We can go and rescue a dog or a child when a family member is whisked away by an ambulance. I had someone in a church do that for me. We can help someone become more the person that they want to be by gently doing some truth-telling. There's so many ways. And this is so important, especially in these days when more families are splintered or distant. Here, we can practice caring for each other and being cared for. Here, we can make a difference for each other. May it be so.
Granddad was a farmer. He never earned a lot, though he and Grandma worked hard every day. They raised 5 children. As soon as each could walk, he taught them how to milk and hoe and hay. Esther was the oldest. She married a boy from school, had a child in 1959. Granddad came to visit, helped the little boy, said some words about the family line. And grandfather stood in the doorway and smiled with a silver dollar he had left for his grandchild. As his children grew and had children of their own, grandfather always did the same. Come to hold the infant, leave a silver coin wrapped in paper with the baby's name. And grandfather stood in the doorway and smiled with a silver dollar he had left for his grandchild. I keep mine in a leather pouch, buried in my dresser drawer. And Miss Liberty smiles out to sea. The date is 1954. And years ago when I heard Granddaddy died, I stared at my silver coin as I cried. Last year, my Aunt Alice was surprised at 45. A few months later, she bore a baby girl. I thought about my granddad and how if he were alive, he'd welcome in that baby to the world. A few weeks later, my grandmother was cleaning Granddad's desk. She found a yellowed envelope, sealed tight with no address. Inside she found $1 silver more, and she knew just who that silver coin was for. And Grandfather stood in the doorway and smiled with the silver dollar he had left for his grandchild.
Please join me and stand in body or spirit in singing hymn number 175 in the gray hymnal. And I just want to say that though it's unfamiliar to our congregation, I'm sorry, that was really beautiful. That was so beautiful. That was beautiful. Hope I didn't come in too soon. That was beautiful. Though it's unfamiliar to our congregation, Reverend Roger has chosen a hymn that is a really perfect way to wrap up this month that we have presented that represents the interdependence of life. We celebrate the web of life, its magnitude we sing, for we can see infinity in every living thing. A fragment of the perfect whole in this and in quail, as much in tiny barnacle within a great blue whale. Of ancient dreams we are the same, our bones link stone to stone, and mind our future worlds to come with worlds that were and are. Respect the water, land, and air, which give all creatures birth. Protect the lives of all that share the glory of the
Yes, indeed, a special thank you to Peter for doing that song that I requested. And I don't know about you, but my grandmother gave me a silver dollar, 1897, something like that. Anyone else get one of those as a kid? Yeah, yep. It was a thing. So these closing words come from Kathy Nuff. Together, may we travel the path of justice, speak words of love, live the selfless deed, trod gently upon the earth, and fill the world with compassion. Let's join together in the chalice extinguishing words. Carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again.
I know it hurts, it's hard to breathe sometimes. These nights are long, you've lost the will to fight. Is anybody out there? Can you lead me to the light? Is anybody out there? Can't tell me it'll be alright. You are not alone. I've been here the whole time singing you a song. Ooh, I will carry you. I will carry you. I know you can't remember how to shine. Your heart's a bird without the wings to fly. Is anybody out there? Can you take this weight of mine? Is anybody out there? Can you lead me to the light? You are not alone. I've been there the whole time. You are not alone. I've been here the whole time singing you a song. Ooh, I will carry you. I will carry you. I will carry you. I will carry you. I know it hurts, it's hard to breathe sometimes.